All right, folks, we'll go ahead and get started. We'd like to welcome Collin Morikawa to the interview room here at the Genesis Invitational. Collin, nice little home game for you this week. Third start in the Genesis Invitational. Just talk about your comfortability here at Riviera, playing on a lot of grasses that you grew up playing on, and just some opening comments on playing the golf course this week.
Yeah, it's always nice to be home. Saw my parents, hung out with them. It's always comfortable to, go back to somewhere you just know everything. And even though, I grew up about 30, 40 minutes away, it's just very comfortable. I mean, it's the same thing as when I was, back in San Francisco and spent 4 years up there for school. And it's a good feeling. I have all my food spots out here. I've got my favorite restaurant out here. So obviously, I've played Riv quite a few times now. We had the USAM here, I think in 2017, played all right. Obviously, I've played a couple times out here for the Genesis, and it's all a learning experience. This course is one of my favorites out on tour. I think it's a lot of guys, but overall, I'm just glad to be back out here on the PGA Tour and ready to play.
And you just mentioned it, back on tour. You're making your first start since Century. Fourth start overall in the season. Just kind of talk about where you're at in the state of your game as we really kind of get some momentum going this season.
Yeah, it was nice to have a break through the winter. I actually ended up getting COVID over winter, and that was a fun time, just sitting in a room. But, that's what happens, and, I ended up taking a longer break than expected, got a lot of rest, played 2 weeks in Dubai over there on the DP World Tour, and, just didn't have it. Game wasn't feeling great, body wasn't feeling great, and sometimes that happens, and I needed a full reset. Coach came out last week, figured some things out, and now I'm feeling great. So the confidence is back. I'm glad to be back in LA, and I'm just excited to see everyone and ready to play some great golf.
Sounds good. All right, with that, we'll open up to questions. If you could just raise your hand, and we will get a microphone over to you. Okay, start over here with Ben.
Hey, mate. What was the timing of your break that you had with illness, and how did it affect you? How much did it affect you?
It was leading up end of December, and that was about the time when I was going to pick up clubs again to get ready for Kapalua, and ended up putting them away again. So it happens, and showed up to Kapalua kind of a little iffy, not knowing where the ball is exactly going to go, but came out fine, and swing was fine, and then You have a couple tendencies, and that ended up leading into what happened in Dubai, and I just couldn't figure it out. And it happens. You have stretches of just not knowing where the ball is going to go, but you figure it out, and then you show up to places that you love, like here, and you feel a lot more confident. And
you mentioned the clubs, etc. I know you made an announcement this morning. Have you had more time to practice with the new gear, and how you're feeling about going forward with TaylorMade?
Yeah, I actually tweaked the driver once in Dubai, and now I think I found the exact setting I want, and something that I can stick with for a long time. So gear-wise, I'm not making too many changes, but the driver I love. I'm excited to partner with TaylorMade for another handful of years, and they've been great to me. I really have had them by my side forever, and it's always nice to have someone that you trust, and that's the biggest thing out here. How many people can we trust? I keep my circle pretty tight, but as you slowly, progress along professional golf, you add a little more people to your group, and as long as you trust them, it makes life a lot easier. And when you're out there, you just worry about playing some good golf.
Okay, we're going to go over here to Dan.
It feels like news about the competing Saudi League continues to percolate as one of the top young players in the PGA Tour. How are you dealing with all the noise, and do you find it sort of distracting?
No, it's not distracting. It's a great read. Props to you on the Morgan Hoffman thing. I didn't realize how long the article was, and it was a very good read. I've never met Morgan, and to learn about something like that was impressive and really meaningful. But as it goes to the Saudi stuff, yeah, no, it was good. As it goes to the Saudi stuff, I'm all for the PGA Tour. I've done this. I've been a pro for 2.5 years. My entire life, I've thought about the PGA Tour. I've thought about playing against Tiger, beating his records, whatever, some that might not even be breakable. But I've never had another thought of what's out there, right? I've never thought about anything else. It's always been the PGA Tour. And has it opened up things for us as professional golfers to open up, things for the PGA Tour to look at what to do better? Absolutely. I mean, we've seen a lot of changes, some good, some bad, some that are still going to be amended, I'm sure, as time goes on. But right now, I mean, you look at the best players, that I see, and they're all sticking with the PGA Tour, and that's where I kind of stay, and that's where I belong. And I'm very happy to be here. You know, I've played, I think, 3 events this year. Feels like I've played nothing. And, you know, part of that was designed in the fall to only play 2 events. But after missing a lot of the West Coast swing, you know, I decided to go and play over there on the DP World Tour. You know, I miss being out on the PGA Tour. Like, I miss seeing these guys. I miss playing out here. And, you know, I just want to compete against the best in the world. And right now, that's where it is. And, you know, I'm very happy. I'm very thrilled to be here. So it's not distracting. I think a lot of other guys are thinking about, and I don't know what they're thinking about, but a lot of guys are probably weighing the decision, what to do, what this, what not. A lot of uncertainties, at least from my end. And for me, like, I know I have a place right here. I'm open arms, come out here and let's play some golf.
One of the events that you didn't play was Phoenix last week, and there was some discussion about people throwing beers and just the atmosphere. What were your thoughts on watching all that go down last week?
I loved it. I mean, I'm guessing that there are a lot more people out there, and I had a million of my friends go out there that don't even care about golf, and they were asking why I wasn't out there. And, like, you're bringing people in that don't love golf just because they love, but you're bringing people in because they love sports, and that's what needs to grow, right? That's how we bring more people in, learn about this game. And I mean, I wish I was there just to see it and just to hear it, because to have 2 hole-in-ones, that's impressive as it gets. But you bring more people in that really don't see what golf is like, and then you see people going crazy. And, like, it doesn't mean you have to throw beer cans every week, but just to see the excitement that you see, right? That's what you want to see, and that's what's really cool, is that I think a lot of just younger kids might see what's going on, see the thrill of the excitement of making a hole-in-one, of showing off to the crowd that maybe that's what they want to do one day. And, you know, for us growing up, like, we want to make putts, right? We're practicing making putts on a last hole on a putting green to win a major, right? That's what we do as a little kid. Maybe a little kid will want to be like, I want to be on 16 at TPC Scottsdale and, you know, make a hole-in-one. So hopefully it just grows the game a little bit more and brings more people involved. But I think it's awesome.
All right, we'll go over here.
So obviously one of the toughest courses you guys will play all year, but one of the easiest first holes you'll play all year. You have averaged better than a birdie in your 8 times playing that first hole.
Great.
Does it feel
Thanks.
Does it feel like a letdown when you make a par, when you make a 5 on that hole?
I mean, are you giving up strokes? I guess, but if you make a par, you're still even par. Look, it's a definitely a more welcoming first hole to be able to hit a 3-wood off the tee. Hopefully, hit an iron and, you know, make a birdie. But I think if you do think of it as a letdown, I mean, you're already putting yourself behind. And, you know, you might be losing strokes to the field, but it's not like 2 is an automatic bogey. It's not like there are no other holes out there that you can make birdie. Is it a very birdieable hole? Absolutely. And you have to be ready to start the round and not just slowly ease into it. But it's just the way golf is. You know, if I make a par, there's nothing wrong with a par. There are bad pars, and that could be maybe, you know, on the bad side of things. But there's still 17 other holes out there that you have to be ready to go play good, you know, solid golf.
I'll go to Bob right here.
Collin, I just wanted to follow on the Phoenix question. It had been a long time since they had an ace there, I think 7 years. And then so maybe the reaction you know, was somewhat due to that, because there hadn't been one for a while. I'm just curious if you think, or if you're concerned maybe it crosses the line. If I think the first day it took 10 minutes to clean up, and obviously I guess you could hit somebody with one of those and it might be a problem. I just wonder, you know, at what point do you worry?
If we start seeing beer cans thrown this week, I think we need to start worrying. I mean, yeah, I didn't know how long it took to clean up, and 10 minutes is a long time, obviously, with, you know, having the next hole drivable par 4 and then 15, you know, reachable par 5. But I mean, you had beer cans thrown maybe 5 times for the entire week, and, you know, it probably wouldn't have got that extreme if we didn't see any hole-in-ones. So from my perspective, I mean, the fans enjoy it, right? And we don't see that anywhere. I think if you ask any player, at least, you know, from my perspective, I would embrace it. Like, you have to embrace it, and that's why you get that nowhere. You know, we can get cheers, we can get roars, we can get high fives, but to get that kind of excitement and you want to draw that out, like the only other place that I've seen that is really like the Ryder Cup, and you just draw that energy out of the fans, and that's what they're doing, and it just, it tips a point of, people are a little more drunk than others or other places, but like I said, like I love it. I mean, if we had it every week, I don't know if I can handle that every week. That's just not kind of the style and stadium type course we play in. This arena, we don't play in an arena. We're spread out over 18 holes over 10 hours, 12 hours a day. But for one time a year, I think it's fine.
Go to Adam right here.
I wanted to follow up. What are some of those favorite restaurants that you like in the area?
Yeah, well, that's an easy one. So on Sawtell, which is really close to here, there's this place called Sujita Annex. There's a Sujita across the street. Don't go to that one. There's a Sujita Annex, which is like kind of hidden in these little bushes. Just be ready to take a nap after. And there's a place called Killer Noodle, which is 2 places down the road. So if anyone wants to find me this week, I promise you I'll be there. It's amazing.
When you say you're with the PGA Tour, I'm just curious, was there some huge money offer that was thrown at you?
Look, so we had conversations. I was later on the road. Like I wasn't. There's guys that have been earlier. I took my time. I wanted to find out more details. I mean, yeah, there's money. I mean, I don't think anyone's signing up for free, right? I mean, maybe they are. So yeah, there was money. But for me, it's thinking about where I am in the position I am today, right? I'm 25. I've got a great life. I've got a great career so far. I'm enjoying and I'm loving what I'm doing. And the only way, I can start thinking about other tours, other leagues, whatever you call it, I need concrete evidence. I need to be able to see a sheet in front of me and know what's out there, right? And as of now, for what I know, I don't know what's out there. All I've heard are rumors. All I heard is talk, and that's hard to do, right? I mean, it's like asking everyone here to go join another media company, and I'm just going to tell you, oh, I promise you there's going to be this, or there's going to be this. But you only heard it not from me, not from who's starting it, but just from other people. It's kind of hard to know what exactly is there until I see it concrete. And that's just not how I live my life. Like, I need details. I'm really specific about things. And from my end, I couldn't get what I needed, and here we are.
One last one, small sample size of you playing in this tournament, but you haven't really been able to get in the hunt yet. What has held you back, and how tricky does this course play for you?
Yeah, tee shot wise, I feel pretty comfortable. I've just made a lot of mistakes. I'm glad none of you guys have looked up the first time I played here, and you guys can do that on your own. Yeah, I'm not even going to bring it up. Final round, though. But, for me, it's just, at this point, normally in the season, I end up making too many mistakes. And normally I do that in the fall, and then I slowly realize that, and then I hit, by the time we get to players, I'm like, okay, wake up. And it's just a learning experience, and it's just knowing what kind of golfer you are, and you have to be ready every week. You can't be ready just in April. You can't be ready just in June. You can't be ready, just in October or whatever. You got to be ready every single time you tee it up, and I say I am. But there's still sometimes, you make mistakes, and like in Hawaii, like I'm making mistakes that I've made so many times that I just shouldn't. And they're small things, it might be a bogey here and there, but I know that I'm a smart enough golfer to not do this. Like I've done it enough to where I should be able to learn, and it's just being able to minimize those mistakes. And out here, every time, like I've made just kind of that mistake to where I can't keep the momentum going. I can't make enough birdies, and hopefully we learned.
Go to Rex back here.
You mentioned in your first answer about some of the things maybe the tour could do better as in response to whatever this rival league might be. I'm curious, is the PIP one of those things? And if so, how would you improve that?
Number 11. Thank you for pointing that out. I rocked that. Thanks, Dan. How do I answer this? I'm trying to think, right? Because like how many other leagues or sports pay out the top 10 players for what they do for the game? Now, it is a good thing and it is a bad thing, because I think, do guys deserve more? Do guys that have really moved the needle, that have produced what we have done for the game, do they deserve more? Yes, right? They've changed our game, and our game is constantly changing and evolving and opening it to more people. That's the biggest thing. But I mean, what's the pool this year? $50 million? I mean, that's crazy to me. You know, $50 million to the top 10 players that can impact this game. Yeah, I think there's probably better routes. Other things, I mean, I think we're getting paid $50,000 for the year if we play 15 tournaments. I mean, that's $10 million right there. Yeah, I think there's other ways to put that $60 million into. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I've done this for 3 years, and I know I'm in this position to where I should be thinking about these things about how the tour could be changing, but it's hard because I really haven't seen it enough. Guys that have played, I'd say 8 to 10 years, you get in such a consistent thing that like you know what's going on. Like in college, right? Like I'll give college for an example. Like I go for my first 2 years, I realize what's good about the program, what's bad. And then I go to 3 and 4, and I'm like, okay, these are things we need to change for the program. That's a lot smaller of a scale. When you're out here on the PGA Tour, you have 200 members or so, right? You have 1 million employees, you have 1 million people trying to do better for the tour. That everyone has their own opinion, but what is really best for the tour? Are those two things, the PIP and this, cuts made, or not cuts made, the whatever we call it, 15 tournaments played? I don't think that's the best use of $60 million. But I don't have an answer for that. But I probably should start thinking about this because, I'm in a position now to where I can help out and, voice my opinion and hopefully be heard. So, yeah, I really don't know, other ways we can do it, but there's got to be something. But, to pay out that amount, it's pretty crazy.
Okay, we have time for just a couple more guys.
Hey, Collin, you talked about being home. I actually spent some time yesterday at La Cañada High School.
Nice.
Talked to Dr. Gold, Mr. Beatty, Jamie Linsader. They really mentioned about how proud they are of you and your work ethic to get to where you are. Can you kind of talk about your time at La Cañada and what it meant for you to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I mean, it's home. It literally is home. And my parents still live there. I love going back. It really is like as comforting as it gets. And I still have a lot of friends that, their parents and their families live out there, and that's where we'll kind of meet up. But, growing up, that's where I went. I went to La Cañada Elementary, I went to the middle school, I went to the high school, and that's my life. Like when people ask where I'm from, that's where I'm from, and I'm very proud of it. And it's cool to see a little city like that just kind of go on the map, and it's easy to kind of spot out to some people and just say we're right next to the Rose Bowl, but I don't think people realize how beautiful La Cañada is, and it just is so peaceful, especially this week, I've sat in traffic for already 3 hours, and it sucks, but you don't get that in La Cañada. It's really nice.
On top of that, a bunch of them said that you were the best athlete to ever come out of La Cañada. Has that ever dawned on you, and what does it kind of mean to you?
Yeah, have you seen my three-point shot? I was pretty good. No, I mean, it is special. Growing up, obviously, I'd heard of a couple other golfers. You see a couple other athletes. But, when you're growing up as a kid, for me, I wasn't comparing myself to, how do I become the best person or best athlete out of La Cañada. It was just, how do I get good at golf, And I still had a good group of friends. And that's what's great is that, my group of friends, they don't care what I do. They're going to come out and they're going to support, and they don't care, how I play. They just want to see me, do well, and they know me for who I am. Before I was, Collin Morikawa, the professional golfer. So that's what's cool. It always brings me back to a place that, I can just separate myself from golf, and that's the biggest thing that I think a lot of golfers and athletes need to learn.
We're going to go Doug, and then we'll finish over here in the corner.
Just to clarify, going back to the Saudi thing, are you saying you were all in on the PGA Tour, or if they'd come to you back in November, December and said, here's our schedule, here's the payment clarity, it was something you would have considered?
You have to consider things. I think, it's someone who's 25 who has played on tour for let's call it 3 years. I couldn't close off my doors because I don't know where golf is going to go. I mean, what if it did? What if we all went to go play whatever, X tour? You would have to go over there, or you'd want to go over there because that's where the best people are. But so, my doors, I was still open to learning because I want to learn what's out there. I want to know the details too. I don't want to keep hearing it from other people say, you need to go talk to this person, you need to do this. Like, this is what they have, this is what they don't have. Yeah, I mean, of course, like if there were more details, maybe I would have thought about it more. Maybe I would have given it more of a decision, and I would have had to sit down and ask more questions. But it's hard to ask questions when, you're not getting answers either. So it's kind of, right? Like no one would keep asking me questions here if I just said yes or no, or maybe we would. So yeah, that's kind of how it is.
Is there any part of you that's the least bit curious to see who's the first person who will actually sign up?
Of course. Are we all?
Yeah.
I mean, we've all heard rumors of, time, this date, in the future. I'm ready for it. Why not, right? Like, we'll call them out. Like, what are they waiting for? I don't know. I mean, I saw something this morning that said, someone had an interview with a player, and there was other, things said about players signing up. I mean, there still have been no names. Once again, we go back to evidence, right? Can we see concrete evidence of what's going on? If we can, then people can make decisions. It's an unknown, right? It's a hidden thing. For me, it's not enough.
All right. And lastly, I don't want to make this strictly about the PIP, but in terms of rewarding top players, what do you consider your greatest contribution to the tour at age 25?
At age 25, thanks. I just think, every year we have these kids that come out, right? And it's the same cycle. We have young kids come out, turn pro, you write about them, you see who's going to make it, then, you do that. But, for me, like myself, Matt, and Victor, I think we've really grouped ourselves in this next little group of people to really just hopefully inspire other kids and to bring that next youthful energy. I mean, I realize like Jordan is still very young and kids love Jordan and love Ricky and love JT, right? That's kind of that group ahead of us and Rom and all those guys, right? But, you still have to have that next group. And for me at 25, I feel like kids are believing that, they, especially Asian Americans, can look at me and be like, oh yeah, we finally see a kid like this and he can do it and I can do the same. And that's the biggest thing is like when you see one kid out there that just tells you like they love you, or like, you inspire them, or you're their favorite golfer. I would have never imagined that at 25. And to know that I have that impact, on one kid, handful of kids, who knows how many, it means a lot. And that means I have to go out there and show my best and be my best and make sure that they see that and make sure they understand that, okay, a kid like me, talking from their perspective, can go out and live their dream. And for me, it was like, I was very thankful for the things I had and the opportunities I was given, by my parents and growing up like that. But just for them to know that, someone like me, someone that can do that, can go out and do this, it's huge. As of now, yeah.
All right, we'll just finish right here in the corner.
Yeah, Collin, following along on that, at 25, 3 years on tour, you've had an incredible amount of obvious victories, which were very different. Royal St. George's, winning in Dubai. What is it in your preparation and your outlook? What is it that you are so good, so young on so many different varieties of courses?
Going through college, that's how I kind of wanted to be. I wanted to be a consistent player and being able to play around the world and play on different grasses. I remember my first time when it really hit me. I was a junior golfer. We were playing at PGA National for an AJJ Invitational, and I did not know how to play in the wind. I mean, that's what a kid from California is going to learn, and realize that I could not play on Bermuda. I could not play in the wind, and it freaked me out. And it really made me focus, however old I was, 15, 16 years old, that, I had to get better. And from that point on, I really learned that I had to learn every single shot out there. I had to learn all these grasses, and I still am. I'm still working with my coach. I'm still working with my caddy to learn, the nuances of everything. But I think for the most part, what I have is my base of my game. I'm able to take that to a lot of places. And that's the biggest thing is that, I'm going to work on little techniques. I'm going to work on little minute things. But at least the basis of my game I can take to a lot of places and I feel comfortable with. So, I think that's the biggest thing. And then other than that, it's just believing that I can do it. I show up to every week knowing that I can still win. You know, I don't show up to courses thinking, oh, you know, I've got no shot. Some guys think that, some guys say that to other people, but I haven't thought that yet.
All right. Collin, thanks so much for the time. Best of luck this week.
Thank you.